The third pillar is exposure. It's your promotion. Also, you learn to sell, and also it all comes under the marketing banner in a lot of respects as well. Probably one of the most important things is when you're producing your work is to learn how to photograph your artwork. Learning how to photograph your art so that you're creating a very good representation of what you're producing. And that all comes down to making sure that you've got the right equipment. In a lot of cases, you can simply use your smartphone these days. They've got very powerful cameras in them. What it comes down to is making sure that you've got the right light coming in. But generally these days, you can just use an iPhone, and you can also just use a lot of, there's really good tools in terms of editing like Photoshop and things like that. But yeah, another really good thing in terms of marketing and promotion is learning how to describe your work as well. So I guess your artist statement comes under that banner as well, but learning to describe your work. So for example, if you're starting to exhibit your work at art shows, you want to be able to speak in a way that it just rolls off your tongue in regards to what you do. So it becomes sort of second nature for you, rather than you sort of umming and ahhing, not being too sure. Now in the beginning, of course, it might be like that, which is okay, but eventually what you want to do is practice your artist statement so it just rolls off your tongue. Another thing would be getting your work out there. So look for some local art shows. In the beginning, they could be just craft fairs, or they could be more larger art shows. But even if you're up for it, you could even speak to local establishments in regards to exhibiting your work, and you could do like a partnership. Use their establishment in regards to housing your work. It doesn't necessarily need to be an art gallery, but it can be as well, because there are a lot of local or smaller art galleries that might be able to help you facilitate your first art show. So that leads me to contacting local galleries. Galleries are really good in regards to giving you a lot of feedback as well. So if you're just starting out, there is a process for contacting gallery owners, of course. Generally you want to sort of give them a bit of a soft approach. You don't want to sort of just walk in there and then expect their time, because in a lot of cases they are in business and they could be with other guests. So you want to use a soft approach. I do have some principles, or at least some ways you can actually go about that. I don't know if it's actually in my book, but there's some other ones that you can actually go, if you get on my newsletter list, there's a way that you can actually go about approaching art galleries. So that's another one that you can go and have a shot at. Also online forums. Get your work out on online forums, because what that does is start to create a bit of discussion around your work, and you'll get some feedback as well. Don't be afraid of showcasing your work online. Just make sure that you're obviously protecting your work as best as you can. It's a little bit difficult these days with the internet, but as long as people can acknowledge it's your work and protect it the best way that you can. But get into some discussions online, and online forums are really good. There's a lot, of course, on social media through Facebook, so you can try those avenues out as well. Social media, of course, is a big one these days. You got your Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest. I always recommend that you just start off with one form of social media to begin with, and just get quite proficient at that, and then you can move on to another one. If you try to do too many or scatter yourself too thin, it becomes a little bit overwhelming and you can't keep up with it, and you don't actually create much of an effect anyway. So it's better just to focus on one that you're comfortable with, and learn to master that area, and get your work out that way. Also eBay, when I first started years ago, 12, 13 years ago, I first started selling on eBay, which is actually a really good way to actually practice in regards to how you talk about your work, but how you display your work. And it also helps you because in regards to the actual copywriting and your artist statement and describing your work, and also getting in the process of actually putting work up online, selling it, and then shipping it, which is of course on the back end, and of course from there following up with your guests as well. So it's actually a really good process. Now admittedly eBay is It's a very saturated market these days, so it is a little bit different than what it was some years ago. However, that's not to say there isn't an opportunity there that you could try out. I still highly recommend it. It does take a bit of momentum to get going, to get like a bit of a collector base, and for people to become more familiar with your work on eBay. But I do recommend it as well, simply because of the process that it takes you through in regards to shipping your work and talking to customers as well, and building your customer list. Which leads me to build your list. What you want to do is generate an email list of potential buyers. Now, if you're exhibiting work at art shows or online, for example, for the most part, a lot of people are just not going to buy right off the bat. However, what I found in my experience, and many other artists have also experienced this, is that you'll have somebody that will pop up 6 months down the track, or maybe in a year down the track, and all of a sudden they've got you on the phone, or they're sending you an email. They like a particular piece that you've done. So what you want to be doing in the meantime is maintaining that contact and communication with them. So one of the best ways of doing that is building your own email list. Another good thing is to learn certain softwares, and that sort of relates back to building your lists. So there are email autoresponder softwares that you can actually use that can automate the process a lot more for you. And also your website. Having a website and a blog to showcase your work is really powerful online. You don't necessarily need to focus too much on that in the beginning, but eventually that's something you'll definitely want to incorporate into your art career in terms of marketing your work. You can just start on Facebook or social media. However, you don't want to get stuck into just relying on social media, because at the end of the day, they own that real estate. So you want to own your own real estate online, and that's where a website and a blog is going to be really powerful for you to eventually. And also you can start producing a lot of your own content in terms of written word and describing your work, and people will become more familiar with who you are and what you're all about, because you can put regular articles on your website and your blog as well. Sign your work. Signing your work, it kind of shows that you're serious about what you're doing. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to sort of get your format right, but simply sign it. Just sign it so that you're pretty much trademarking each piece that you do, and you're just showing your audience that you are serious about what you do. And even on the back, one good process to use is to on the back sign it as well and date it, but format it however you want to in regards to what information you want on the back of the canvas. If it's canvas painting you're doing, if it's photography, for example, you might have another format. And date your work as well, as I just might have mentioned. Date your work on the back. One really important thing in regards to your marketing, and which is really going to have a big effect on people, how people perceive your work, is you've got to be able to speak highly of what you do. And that sort of relates back to here, to the self-talk. Speak highly of your work, because what it does is it's just another form of passion, and expressing that to people. You don't want to be sort of a, ho-hum, I'm struggling. You want to, I'm not suggesting that you need to run down the street and tell everyone, hey, you know how good I am. I don't mean any of that. What I mean is that you want to be able to speak highly and encouragingly of yourself, because what that does is it gives your audience or buyers confidence in regards to buying your work. And it's simply just a really good energy to have as well. Pillar 4 is don't take it all personally. So what that means is, in terms of one of the biggest ones that you're going to get as an artist is criticism. I mean, I've copped my fair bit of criticism when I first started exhibiting my work. You do yourself well if you don't take it personally. In a lot of cases, people are, generally angry about something else and not so much about what you're producing. And they're just looking for a way out. They're looking for a path to just sort of express that anger. But I always recommend that if you can actually get amongst really good artists and absorb their critique as well, and don't take it too personally if they are giving you really good advice, because quite often that will really help. And in the most cases, a lot of good artists, they're all well-developed artists and artists that are serious about what they do, are generally really good people in terms of being encouraging of your work, and they will tell you honestly, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just something you've got to accept as an artist. There are moments where there will be rejection. You know, I know when I've walked into galleries or spoken to gallery reps, there's been rejection, you know, in the early days of, no, we just don't want your art, or rather we've got too much going on. And also I've done art shows, exhibits, where I've not sold anything. There have been a lot of cases where I've sold a lot of art and done really well, and there's been other times where I've not sold a piece. So it's just part of what happens. Don't take it personally, and it's not so much what you're producing. It's sometimes it can be just the environment. I've done shows where they weren't organized that well, which led to a lack of people coming through in regards to looking at artwork. But in terms of your rejection, don't take it personally. Just keep doing what you're doing in regards to working as an artist, and just maintain that consistency, and you'll overcome getting really pulled down by criticism and rejection. Just beware, I'll just put beware here, of some online forums. And what I mean by that is that in a lot of cases, there's some forums online that are just very narcissistic. They're looking for validation rather than it being an environment where you can actually offer a lot of really good critique. So if you're just jumping in these forums just looking for validation all the time, I don't actually think it's a really good habit to get into, and it's not a really good environment to sort of get stuck in. You want to be amongst people that are actually giving you very good, honest feedback in regards to your work. So just be wary of that. Yeah, like I mentioned, surround yourself with really good artists. There's a lot of knowledge that can be passed down to you. And as I mentioned before, in regards to critiquing your work, just the experience and knowledge that can be passed on to you is really, really valuable. So I always recommend pick who you want to associate with. Be careful about who you associate with, but generally, if you can make a principle of hanging out with really good artists, it's going to help you a lot in regards to progressing as becoming a better artist. So that means simply reach out as well. Reach out and network. And that could simply be in your local community. It might sort of relate back to maybe doing some classes or getting with an art group, local art groups as well. So they're always really good environments because you're all you're sharing like-minded ideas and all moving in the same direction, which is really good for your progress. One thing to do as well is to don't watch. Now, even that means that you need to turn off now and go do some work, then that's fine by me. But try not to get in the habit of, try to get into the habit of actually doing more rather than watching too much, because you can get caught up in watching endless amounts of tutorials. And because there's a lot of content online, of course, so you can actually get caught up with that and time just simply slips away. So make a focus of actually doing more than what you're actually watching as well. Always be your own student and always be a student. You never really stop growing creatively. So what that does is it eliminates the ego as well. If you're too built up with self-assurance, sometimes that can be a little bit damaging. It's important to be confident, but you'll also want to be always absorbing new principles, new tips. So always be your own student, but also be a good student as well, because regardless of what level you are as an artist, you always need to be learning. And probably lastly is sometimes you got to go backward to go forward. And that comes back to what I was mentioning before. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes and it's totally okay. No one's sort of watching you with a magnifying glass to make sure that you get everything absolutely perfect. So sometimes you've got to make mistakes, and sometimes you have to go backwards to move forward. Sometimes you'll start projects and it's better if you can actually say, I'm not going to complete this project. It's actually better to be able to jump ship on it rather than finish it for the sake of finishing it. If it doesn't feel right, if it's chewing up a lot of your energy, creating stress, then walk away from it and start something new. So you're entitled to do that. So overall, these are the 4 pillars that I've always operated from in regards to becoming a better artist. So yeah, if you can absorb in terms of developing your craft, also getting your mindset and environment, productivity and your energy right, your exposure. So you've got to learn promotion and learn how to sell your art as well, because essentially art is not bought, art is sold. So that's a really good principle, one pillar to really absorb quite well. And don't take it personally. You just don't need to follow the principles in there in regards to how to deal with criticism and rejection. Also get that book that I recommended before, Steven Pressfield's War of Art. So it will help you hugely in terms of your productivity and believing in what you can actually do. That's it. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching. Like I said, give me a thumbs up, and next time, next time there'll be another video in regards to helping you out and progressing as an artist. Thanks heaps. Enjoy the rest of your day.